Hey everybody, Lucas from Our Liberty House here, and today we're finally going to cut out a lot of this summer garden stuff. The temperatures are cooling down. It's really the time to transition into winter and fall gardening. And so we're going to cut some of this, these peppers and this tomato plant out. We already took a lot of our peppers out of that bed, the big tomato wall that you've seen in a lot of our videos. So we're going to plant a whole myriad of beans back there. This bed's going to be mostly garlic. This is going to be our garlic bed this year because we like to transition and rotate beds. And so that's what we're going to do. I hope you guys follow along with us. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button for us, and we are going to walk you through what we're doing this week. A little day in the garden episode for you guys. Let's get it done. All right, this is the first step of what we're gonna do, and we're gonna plant a bunch of beans back here like I alluded to earlier. And what we're gonna do is some dark red kidney beans, some painted pony beans, some Calypso beans, and some great northern bush beans. And we are gonna plant this whole area, just really stack it in with beans. And it's about 90 days until our first frost. And these are 90-day beans, so this is really an experiment for us to see if we can pull it off. And we want some drying beans. It's gonna be really fun. But also, like, if it doesn't work out, this bed had peppers and tomatoes in it, and we really want to try to replace that nitrogen naturally rather than, using fertilizer. So if we can replace nitrogen naturally with beans, which are nitrogen replacing plants, that would be super great. So we're going to plant this in here. We're going to put some organic compost on top. And I don't know if you saw on one of our last videos toward the end, we had what we think is root knot nematodes in here, which kind of suck for future tomato and pepper planting. So that's what we're going to try to kill them off with more organic compost. So nematodes, if you don't know, are microorganisms and they feed on your plants. So like root knot nematodes will get into your tomato and your pepper roots, and they will create these like root knots. You see them when you pull them out, they look knotty, and they prevent the plant from spreading its roots out. And so nematodes are not always bad. There's good nematodes and bad nematodes. So we'll probably add some good nematodes in, but they're living organisms. They're pests that you really can't see because they're microorganisms. So there's good ones and bad ones. Obviously the root knot one is a bad one, and we'll put some pictures in here of what some of our tomato plants look like with what we think are root knot nematodes. We'll probably do another video, some other strategies later on, but beans are not susceptible to them necessarily. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna fight this. We're gonna go full on and fight it with more organic compost and just keep the living things in here. The first step for us is just gonna be to applying some Evisto organic compost. And you can see we still have some of our pepper plants here. These are our habanadas. We have some fruit on the vine and we want to kind of let it go. So we're just gonna plant around it and then come back and plant later. So it never hurts to just top dress with compost, whether it's homegrown or just buying it. You're really gonna set yourself up You're really going to set yourself up for success by just top dressing with compost, because you're going to add immediate nutrients into that soil. So you think about if you plant your seed, they're this big, right? Like you plant your seed right in a super nutrient rich environment, that's going to really set it up for success, rather than, this soil, it's good soil, right? But it's probably nutrient depleted because we had peppers and tomatoes in here. So you want that seed when it first develops roots to have something great to grow in. So that's why we'll put this compost all over this area, and then we'll plant the beans right into it. And we'll do that with our garlic, and we'll do that with the rest of our, winter crops. All right, so we've got some good black gold here, some good compost right on top. That's going to create, like I said, a great environment for these new seedlings to grow. And then it really follows along with a lot of the, no-till method people. It's just going to create more and more good soil depths as this stuff erodes down. So, tilling always isn't the greatest option. So we just top dress here. So we create these good layers of soil instead of tilling it up every year and getting that bad soil necessarily on top. We're going to create good soil and layer it down every year, putting more and more good compost on top, which we harvest ourselves, but we also have to buy it to supplement it too. It really creates a great growing environment for seedlings, which is why we like to top. So what we're going to do now is we're going to plant a ton of beans in here, really stack them in, get that good nitrogen building beans and legumes in there. All right, so we made little wells here in the compost. We've got our irrigation lines prepped, and we're just going to plant all the way down. We're going to plant around those peppers you saw earlier because we're going to pull them out sooner than later. So it's kind of like a hyper intensive planting. So these are our Calypso beans. That's what they're going to look like when they're dried. And then the bag says 2 to 6 inches and a depth of 1 inch. So we'll plant these kind of intensively. 2 to 6 inches is pretty subjective. So we're going to plant pretty tight. So I think even tighter than that. So that's what we're going to do all the way down this line. Hopefully we have like a little bean forest back here, which is, just nitrogen replacing, great to grow. If you're in a warmer climate like we are, you can kind of push the envelope like we are. 90 days. You're not going to be able to do this in the Midwest, but you can do it here, so we're going to try it. I'm going to pack them in. Cover them up. Yeah, we're gonna do that for all 4 beans. Like I said, Calypso beans. We won't bore you guys with the planting, but I'll show you all of them. So these are the painted ponies. They look like a painted pony.
Those are cute.
And then just your very basic kidney bean here. And then the last one being this great northern bush bean, just a normal white bean. So that's what we're gonna plant all along this fence or this, you know, trellis, because like I said, we hyper grew this with tomatoes and peppers, and so they're going to suck a lot of the nutrients out. And so the least we can do is try to replace some of the nitrogen over the winter, because here in Sacramento we can grow things in the winter, so you might as well grow something that's going to help your soil and keep that microbial growth going and hopefully fight off these nematodes. So the more growth you have, you fight off the bad stuff. When you let your soil sit stagnant, that's when usually like bad fungal diseases or different things like nematodes, they really set roots. So hyper intensive growing is something you should definitely do in regions that you can do it. So we're going to plant these here. No matter how they do, it's still going to create root growth. It's still going to promote that microbial growth in this area. And so that's what we're going to do. And then we'll catch back up with you here soon. We're going to do some garlic planting and some other stuff. We got a bunch of kale that really needs to get in the ground. So we'll do all that here soon, but I'm going to get these planted before it gets dark. All right, we're back. Time to plant garlic. Beth got this green zebra and the basil and the peppers out, and now we're gonna plant some elephant garlic. But first, I did want to talk about, look at this root structure on this from this tomato plant. We used the mycorrhiza, the granular mycorrhiza this year, and we had great root growth. I had roots, like look at this one growing all the way, you know, across and spreading. But if you've seen in some of our last videos, we had what we think is root knot nematodes in our back tomato wall. And so this is what a good tomato root is supposed to look like. That's what, you know, possibly root knot nematodes looks like. So we'll do a whole video on what we're gonna do to try to fight that in the back. But I just wanted to show you guys this. Pull that out. And before we plant our garlic's heavy feeders. This bed had, like I said, tomatoes and peppers in it, so it's going to be pretty depleted. So I'm just going to use this down-to-earth Viola. It's a pretty balanced fertilizer, NPK of 542. So we'll top dress that. We also top dressed with compost, which is just going to, you know, give more nutrients to a depleted soil. We'll do that. And then the type of garlic we're planting again this year is this elephant garlic. You can see makes these huge cloves, and we'll just use these. This is stuff we planted last year. Liberty smelling the organic compost or fertilizer. This is just garlic we harvested and planted last year that we bought at the grocery store. So we're gonna use it again. We had a really good harvest, and we're gonna spread these out on either sides, and we'll plant some onions down the middle and maybe some more cauliflower and kale. And then I'll show you guys kind of the rest of the fall and winter stuff we planted today. So let's do that. I'm gonna break this up, fertilize, and then dig this garlic in. Probably need it. See, these are all one big clove, but sometimes they produce smaller cloves too. Like this one is multiple. So we'll be able to just plant these from what we haven't used yet from last year. We got a couple more cloves out here. If we need more, we will break them all out.
I think Liberty's nose is working. You smell something, Lib? Yeah, I smell that fertilizer.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about planting garlic really quick. What side you want to plant, and then about how deep. So we're going to plant the root side down, and obviously then this will be the growth side. So if you've ever kept garlic in your pantry too long or on your counter and it started to sprout, usually it'll sprout from this side, and this is where the roots are going to grow. Let's see if there's any other good examples. Same thing. That's where the root's going to go. And then for spacing, when we lay these out, you think these elephant garlic heads get about this big. So we'll plant about every 6 inches. So they only need, it's like onions, they only need as much space as they're gonna grow. So we'll plant about every 6 inches in this area. We get pretty decent afternoon sun in this part of the bed, so we'll kind of hug this side. They do need sun. They're gonna take 7 to 9 months to fully mature. So pick a good spot in your garden that's going to get winter sun. And then for the depth, it'll really just be enough to, get the bulb, maybe even a little deeper than that, but not terribly deep. So then when we cover it up, it'll be completely covered, but it doesn't have to be sunk down deep. And then even in our climate that's pretty warm, we'll come in once these have sprouted, and we'll put mulch over to protect them in the winter from any frost. And definitely, if you live in a climate that freezes, you're going to want to heavily mulch over the top of them. But here we just put a light layer of mulch to kind of protect the new growth. Let me find that one. And we will plant all these down. I gotta figure out my spacing. And even, these smaller bulbs will hopefully form a whole big bulb. It's just like planting a seed. So let's get this planted, and then we'll run through the rest of the stuff we got going for fall. All right, so we have some space down the middle, and we're gonna plant some red onions. And this is actually the first year we've planted these bunched onions. And what you're gonna do, we got them a little wet, and you just separate them out. And each one of these little bulbs will grow up to be an onion. And if you've had poor success like we have with the starts, the actual bigger bulbs that you buy at the nurseries, I've heard people have had really good success with these. So we're trying this. I'm just gonna get these all separated first so it makes it easier to plant. These will take longer than those other ones, but for everything we've researched and heard from people is they produce better, bigger onion bulbs. So we are going to try it. All right, so got them all separated. Gotta get them out of the way, I guess. And we're gonna just dig a little trench in the middle, avoiding all of our roots from our old plants. Then just think about the size of an onion you want. Lay them in there. Just like that. They come in these huge packs, so we don't have room for all of these. So some of these will probably go to my parents or other friends that garden.
You can also, I read, put them into a container that's like tighter together and harvest the tops.
Yeah, it's like green onions, which I might have to do. I got no more room. But if all of those grow up to be big onions, we'll have quite the harvest of red onions. Then just come back in, mound them up like you do with onions. The mounding, like this, kind of making a mound will give you a little environment for that onion bulb to grow, but onions don't really like wet feet, so they don't like sitting in really soggy soil. So if you mound them like this, they will hopefully grow a little bit better through our wet winters. Well, fingers crossed we have a wet winter. We need the rain. So there we go. A bunch of onions planted. Get these out of the way. So we just bought some cauliflower starts. We planted a bunch all over the garden. And we're just gonna toss these in the back. Not the greatest sunlight we get in our garden, but we had extras, we'll try. You can see these have been in their seed cell for a while. They're kind of root bound, so do yourself a favor as usual and loosen them up before you put them in. We bought these like over a week ago and planted a bunch, and we were just waiting to pull things out of the garden, so they've been sitting. And then Beth started, what is this? A Viola, which are always pretty in the winter time here. Plant one in the middle. It's a little flower. Some color. Hello, little guy. No. Don't shove this just in my garden box. Put it in my new potting bench. Check out our video on how to make this potting bench if you haven't seen it. And let's go this way and talk about some other stuff we have planted. We got some kale that we got from Johnny's seeds that we started from seed. That's looking really good, actually. Some more of the violas. Just some nice annual flowers for the year. We're gonna try to overwinter this echinacea because it is a perennial in our zone. But we planted some scarlet runner beans that are gonna crawl up this, old Florida weave trellis. What else did we do, Beth? We got more
like purple beans.
Purple beans that are gonna go up what was our tomatillo trellis. We planted some golden beets. Just flanking it, trying to maximize space because that's what we do. And you guys were here with us earlier in the week when we planted all of this hopeful future shelling beans. Haven't sprouted yet. Something actually dug one up.
It's the squirrels.
Friggin' squirrels. So these need a little bit of a watering. And yeah. You can see, planted another cauliflower. We're just sticking cauliflowers
I snuck that one in there.
everywhere. We planted these from seeds a long time ago. So some butter crunch lettuce, some radishes, some borage.
Like 2 weeks ago.
It seemed like a long time ago. Some romaine, some arugula, and it's just going along. I think there's even some beets here. Nope, spinach. There were beets there that didn't germinate. All right, everybody, that's what's going on in the garden this week here at our Liberty House. We're, really excited for fall. We're ready to pull everything summer garden out and really transition. And we want to know what you guys are doing. So leave a comment, whether you're in our area or somewhere else across the country, let us know what you're prepping, what you're getting excited to garden. And, let us know if there's some videos that you want us to do, anything you have questions about or something you're interested in. I think soon we need to plant some plants up in the front yard that have died back and plant some new perennial flowers. So maybe we'll jump out of the front yard next week and give you guys an update about how our low water, no lawn front yard is doing. Appreciate your time. Once again, hit that thumbs up and subscribe button for us, and we'll see you next week.